In the previous video, I showed the unboxing and testing and also the eBay purchase of the Amiga 2000. This one we're going to deal with the power supply, so stay tuned for all that. I actually don't think there's anything wrong with the fan. It's not really spinning up. It's not really spinning up very well, and I think that's probably because there's this voltage supply problem. I've never actually taken one of these apart before. High voltage, low voltage. I don't see any capacitors that are that are bad necessarily. It's cool. It has a little wire in here with a tag on it where it says 120 240 AC selectable. I'm not sure where else you'd be moving it to. There's probably another, but you can unplug that and stick it somewhere else. Let's just see here. Easy does it. Yeah, no, it's not the fan making that noise. The fan seems to be working. Perhaps the protection circuit is coming on. I got to get it out of here. Alright, so anyway, this one here is a 7mm. Disconnect that. It's on there pretty good. Nice and easy. Let's not drop it down in the middle. Okay. Oh. Could I get lucky and be the same size? No. Dang it. I'm turning it, but the nut is spinning on the other side. So I need to get something for that nut. Okay, now we can take a good look at it. Cute little standoff in the middle there. Here's the separation of the high voltage side from the low voltage side. Okay, let's check the fuse. Oh, not to forget about the capacitors. There's nothing left in this one or this one. So those are the only two high voltage ones. These ones are going to be 24 volts and less. I will spare you the roughly 4 hours of wasted diagnosis time I have on this power supply. I couldn't find anything wrong. I tested all the components on the low voltage side, and I couldn't find anything wrong because there actually isn't anything wrong. Both this power supply and the other one that I have from my other Amiga 2000 require a load before they output proper voltage. This particular one is called a Hong PSU 2000. The other one that I have is marked LE and LTech Power Supply Limited. I don't know, it probably has a model number on it somewhere, but I didn't see it. So anyway, both power supplies require a load. I tested my other one, and when it isn't plugged into the Amiga 2000 motherboard, it's putting it out very low voltage. This is very similar to actually a lot of the Amiga 500 power supplies. They also do the same thing. One thing is different about the Hong one. It does an over voltage protection and a scary clicking noise, and one of its voltage regulators on the output side gets really hot. In fact, it's discolored probably because people have been leaving it plugged in to try to figure out what's wrong with it, and they just gave up, I guess. And now it's on me to fix it. So needless to say, don't leave these Amiga 2000 power supplies turned on when they're not plugged in to the motherboard or a working motherboard, because eventually they will overheat and blow something. So, piece of advice. One more test, just for S&Gs. We're grounded on the one of the screw standoffs on this. What is that? The serial port or something. And we're going to test. It's called back probing in the automotive world. Just take a pin, stick it in your clamp, your alligator fitting for your multimeter probe, and go into the back of the connector while it's plugged in. And okay, so yellow is plus 5 volts. It's good to know. And I know for a fact these yellows are all plugged into the same rail. Blue, I believe, is ground. Yeah, there's nothing there. Let's go into this orange one and see what it is. Plus 12. Orange is plus 12. Maybe I can show you where. Yeah. So on the orange there, let's try the one over here. It's red. Red is minus 12. That's the red one. And green is another +5. So we have two +5 volt rails. And white, white is the -5. A special one, just for the Amiga 2000. Well, it's not on an Amiga 500 anyway. At least not on the power supply. And the last one, 2.45 volts. That's going to be the tick signal. The video output the video circuit receives a tick signal from the power supply. It's very simple. The power supply simply sends the 60 Hertz signal from the electrical outlet. You know, it filters it down, but it's an AC. Yeah, actually, that'd be interesting to see if maybe that's an AC. I think probably not. It's probably switched to DC. Yeah, on AC mode we're getting, oh, okay. We're getting 2.65 volts of AC. And I think that might be what it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's actually a jumper here somewhere on the motherboard that if you don't provide a tick signal, it can be produced internally. And who knows, the jumper could even be thrown at this point, I don't know. But, you know, that's the way that works. So we got +5, -5, +12, -12. And a tick signal basically from the power supply. And as long as you have those things coming from the power supply, you're good to go. There's one other thing I'm going to do here, and I'm going to measure the voltage for the fan. I have some 80mm fans, but they're not new, so I guess we can do without this little pin here. Let's just see. Is it hooked up with the orange? We have to be careful of those big capacitors. They're definitely going to be full of juice. The red is literally connected right in with the orange. Yeah. For some reason I can't measure the red. Maybe it's just I can't get my probe in there. I don't know. Same difference to measure the orange again. Of course, you probably just watched me do that, and I'm going to do it again. I mean, if it turns out to be, I mean, I noticed the fan runs slow on the Amiga 2000 power supply. So I don't know if it's a slow RPM fan or it's a 12 volt fan that's fed lower voltage. If that's the case, then you would need to make sure your fan is capable of accepting a lower voltage. Oh no, it's 12 volts. So that means that I want a lower RPM 12 volt fan for this thing. That would be the best idea. Sorry for the background noise, I'm doing a bit of 3D printing. So on Amazon, here's an Arctic silent, an Arctic silent 3-pin fan, which is fine. The problem with searching for a 2-pin fan is you're not going to get a name brand, at least a brand that you recognize. So I'm going to go ahead and just get a 3-pin fan. The extra pin is just to send feedback to motherboards or power supplies if they have that circuit. Just to provide feedback as far as how many RPMs are being detected. So this one seems appropriate. If we scroll down, they actually have a comparison chart, and so this one I'm looking at is 2000 RPM, and we have some that are 3000. So I think I'll stick to the 2000 RPM ones. If it's still too fast, I can always add a resistor in line to make it run a little slower. Actually, you know what I can do? I can also look up the specs on the old fan and see what its RPM range. But I think 2,000 is about the lowest you can go on a 12-volt fan, if I'm not mistaken. So at least mostly. There's probably some kind of specialty fan that runs slower than that. But anyway, I think we're safe with this this F8 fan. That's the one I'm going to order. Okay, so here we have the case, the outside shell of the power supply, and this is the exact same one that Jan Beta did in his videos. So I'm not going to, you know, beat a dead horse, as it were. You know, you just drill out the holes, probably something a little bit larger than that hole right there, and use these are probably pretty soft metal. You could probably use any bit at all to get through them, like an aluminum or an alloy or something. Go right through there. And then I'll be replacing it with, I ordered some cool Arctic Cool fans. They were a good deal, 5 of them on Amazon. I'll do a link in the description. It's weird because in the description it says value pack as an option, so I select it, and nowhere in the description does it actually tell you how many you're getting. It does show a picture of 4 stacked up next to each other, and then like a 5th one. It turns out, yes, it's indeed 5 come with it. So yeah, so we just need to make sure we have holes in the chassis that are big enough to fit these, and they'll go right in. It's utterly simple. Pretty straightforward stuff. Oh, and obviously you want to check the direction of the fan, and there it is right there. The fan spins that way and the air pushes that way. So most good fans have that written on the side. Yeah, right there. So you just want to match it. So it's going to go like this, right? Yeah. It's going to go just like that. No problems at all. Easy peasy. Here's a shot of the original fan, so you know what model it is. Now, doing a search of this fan online finds that we can actually find one of these fans. You know, NOS, new old stock. And it has some specs as far as voltage and amperage, you know, current. But it doesn't say anything about the speed of the fan. And a couple things that are different here is the pitch and amount of blades there are is not the same. So based upon that, I think we want the new fan having more blades to probably maybe blow a little slower. This probably doesn't make too much of a difference. We could probably just run this new fan at full speed or whatever. It would be at 12 volts. But I had this handy dandy RPM tester that I'm going to stupidly try to use on this fan to find out what the RPMs are, since I don't know it. So it's you need to take a little piece of reflective tape that comes with the kit and put it on one of the blades. And I'm just going to do that, and then we'll hook it up to 12 volts and see what it does. Okay, well that worked like a charm. We determined that it's running at 2600 RPM, so the standard Amiga fan that has like, what, 6 blades on it runs at 2600 RPM. And this one runs at 2000. This is a 2000 RPM fan. However, it's got more blades in it. So I figure it's going to move pretty close to the same, caveman guess. It's going to run close to the same airflow. It certainly will be enough. I think that we're pretty good. So a 2000 RPM fan with a lot of fan blades is probably a good selection. This particular one is especially. So I went into my bag of tricks. Usually when you buy fans, well, sometimes when you buy fans, they'll actually come with an adapter where you can plug it into the 4-pin Molex of a PC, and the other end would have the connector for a fan. And as it turns out, this is a 2-pin fan, so it doesn't have the sense wire, and the 2 pins are right where we need them. Okay, so according to what I found online, holding the connector this way, the ground, there's 2 pins in there, and both of them are oriented this way. There's one on the right, and there's one in the middle, and then the one on the left is missing, so that's the sense wire. And so the one on the right is indicated on diagrams as being ground, and so the one in the middle is the plus 12 volts. So let's just wire that into the power supply, blah, blah, blah. Stand up, damn it. Okay. All right, so the plus 12 one is right around in this vicinity. It's hard because they're all clumped up together. This red fan wire is clumped up with a bundle of orange wires that are being sent. And there's only one. Oh, but the other ones are going to the drive. The drive cables. Ooh-wee. Yeah, definitely a job for the 100-watt iron. Okay, got it out. So we want the center pin of the connector, which I dropped on the floor. Okay, center pin. It would be nice if these were 2 different colors, but whatever. That's this one. So this one's got to go in there. See if I can manage to poke it through here. Actually, there is another empty hole here, so maybe we'll just do that. Sure, why not? I just need some solder here. Sorry, I just set my phone down on the workbench here, and let's just solder this puppy on here. Iron heated up. Help me out here. There we go. That's pretty good. Alright, so that's the positive. And the negative, this little black wire here, it's a lot easier to get to. It's right on the edge. Liable to make a mess of that one. We're good. Here we go. Now we've got a fan, an actual ATX fan connector. Anybody could come back and throw another fan on it. Who knows, it might come in useful. Maybe somebody wants to put a higher speed fan in there, or a lower speed one, or whatever. In case my estimating isn't the height of accuracy, which it isn't. I don't have the knowledge to calculate the physics of, you know, a 10-bladed fan versus a 6-bladed fan, and the pitch of the blades and all that, but all I can tell you is that the more blades, it's going to flow more air, so less RPMs kind of equalizes it a bit. And one thing's for sure, it's going to be silent, and I believe it's going to blow enough air. Okay, so let's get this thing back together. And there we are, the finished product in my working Amiga 2000. Just need to put the cover on. And I'm going to have to check the previous video. There doesn't seem to be a grommet here, and I don't remember taking one off. I'm going to check to see if there was one originally. And of course the finishing touch. Make sure to pass along what you've done and what the date is, so the next guy knows if something's wrong. It's not going to be capacitors or whatever. Shameless plug on the bottom line there. That's going to be it for this video. On the next video we're going to tackle the Amiga 2000, which doesn't work at all. We get a green power light and that's it. Okay, stay tuned. We'll see you soon.